Good evening. My name is Odie Hawkins, and Zola, Salena-Hawkins, please
Yes,
have a
yes,
seat
yes.
here.
Hello, dear. Hello, everyone.
We've just returned from a week-long trip to help some friends, so I'll just leave it at that.
Mhm.
When a friend calls, you have to go, which is why we missed last Monday. It's not an excuse, it's an explanation.
Mhm.
This evening, we thought we would focus on the Holloway House
Yes, please.
books.
Mhm.
This is about selling books. These books here, if imagine they were oranges or apples,
Yes.
you know, think about it.
Something for your mind.
Yeah, red apples, green apples.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, what we thought we'd do is talk about the first 17 books that I had published were published by Holloway House, which is now a defunct publishing house. Thank goodness.
Mhm.
I know that
Get some drink. You
Oh,
might need it.
tea. It's cold in Long Beach, so we're having hot tea.
Yes, please.
Mm.
Mhm.
And they told me this was Southern California.
Yes.
Holloway House in the 70s was the place to go if you were a black writer,
Mhm.
freelance writer who was writing about something that was a bit esoteric,
Mhm.
that had some sort of linguistic tangles in it that they couldn't untie.
It wasn't Webster's dictionary.
It wasn't Webster's. The thing about the Holloway House Publishing Company is that I had an editor named Ray Locke, and he explained that the Holloway House philosophy was simply to grab books that they thought that their public, their black public, would be interested in
Mhm.
and publish them.
Yes, in fact, one book at least I know was sold 20,000 copies in 1 year.
Well, this is interesting, I got hold of a reprint and new book report for this particular time, and it showed, for example, that this book called Sweet Peter Deeter, who was a pimp friend of mine, long gone, bless you, Sweet Peter Deeter, wherever you are.
Mhm.
The book was published in 10,822 books were published, 7,575 were sold. That was approximately 75%, according to the editor himself,
Mhm.
which was kind of phenomenal for a paperback book by an unknown author about a subject matter that was not all that delicious. It was more salacious than
All you have to
delicious.
do is write the word on the blackboard and
Sweet Peter Deeter,
everybody hears it.
sex.
Mhm. Yes.
Here's another book that was printed by Holloway House called Chicago Hustle. 10,838 of them were published. 7,550 were sold, about 75%. What I'm trying to get to is that Holloway House made money off of us. And us was like 4 people.
5, wasn't it? Was it the 5?
Iceberg Slim,
Mhm.
Donald Goins, some other guy, and myself.
Right. Oh, was it 4?
It was 4.
Five.
It was
Oh,
4. They called us the Big 4.
Okay.
We were making money head over fist for Holloway House.
Mhm.
And I assure you that they probably had a wok as big as this table to cook their books in, because when we got into arguments about royalties and so forth, they never had sold more than 10% of my books.
Right.
Except when I got hold of the sheet from Ray Locke.
Mhm.
Ray Locke, bless his soul,
Mhm.
happened to leave this sheet lying around on his desk, and I
Borrowed it for a few.
borrowed it.
Yes.
And
Borrowed the original.
And Xerox even showed that, hey,
And returned the original.
in addition to that, strange thing happened.
Mhm.
Somebody accidentally sent me a $500 royalty check on one occasion.
Mhm.
And I found out that it was this guy who was the bookkeeper,
Mhm.
who incidentally absconded to the Philippines with about 30 grand.
Mhm.
So So it shows you that the place was, the two people who owned the Holloway House, bless their souls, did all they did to get.
They were businessmen.
It was about business.
Don't take it
Not
personal.
the zeroing.
I think
Are they gold? Is that gold?
Yes, sir.
I wish I could do that. Anyway, this evening, what we thought we'd do very briefly was introduce you to some of the books that we have published.
And these are the synopses by Holloway House back then. We'll later introduce you to the synopses as Odie Hawkins has written them today.
This is the funny one.
Mm-hmm.
Ray Locke was not a good editor. Ray Locke didn't pretend to be a good editor. Ray Locke had a drinking problem. He kept a fifth of whiskey down in the left-hand corner of his desk. And when I went to visit him to talk about the complaint I wanted to make, he went down first into his lower drawer of his desk, pulled out the Jack Daniels, poured himself a big glass, and you want some of this? So frequently we would sit there and get rather toasted and talk about what Holloway House was not doing. And at the end of half an hour or so, I didn't have very much to complain about, so I just left. I couldn't do anything about it. Anyway.
Right. They were selling.
Okay, well, the people who were saying, why do you go to... They were the only game in town for the black freelance writer at that time.
Right. Well, still, there's a stigma associated with being able to write as people who did not get a quote-unquote proper education.
Yes, right.
Or spoke the King's English. And, academians, that's why a lot of the old black soap operas or movies got wasted because academians from...
That's what you call academians.
From the middle class. African-American middle class, didn't want to expose their children or expose their world to that reality.
I believe you're right. I mean, I can...
Amos and Andy enjoyed it.
A lot of people really secretly liked it, but they didn't want to acknowledge it openly, Same thing happened with Holloway House. I did not write what might be called typical Holloway House stuff. I sort of mixed genres. Let me start with the beginning. This is not in any particular chronological order. I'm taking it from
catalog.
The catalog pages from the top here all the way down to these 5 at the bottom. The first one is called Midnight. And Midnight is about a young gangbanger who goes to Africa, goes to Ghana, upon the advice of an older, wiser man, convict, who tells him, you won't really know yourself unless you go to Africa. If you're an African American, you really won't know yourself till you go. Well, okay, having been to Africa, I think that there's some truth to that.
Yes.
I would like to say, I think you know who you are, period.
Yes, but it makes you have even a deeper appreciation for who you are. And where your people came from. Even if you do not know the exact location, seeing so many people that look familiar to you or look like
your auntie,
family,
your uncles.
They are family. Unfortunately, the roots have been damaged. That's a
beautiful way to put that. Beautiful way to put that. In this particular case, as you can see, this is the beginning of the flag of Ghana, which is that black star with a yellow background and green at the bottom, red at the top.
Well, let me take a moment to read what they said about you. Odie Hawkins is like no other writer we have known. Certainly like none working today.
Working today?
Oh, yes.
What was I doing? Plowing the cotton fields or something?
Yes. If one had to make a comparison, one might refer to him as a Black American version of Jean
Genet.
Genet. Right, yeah.
The
Okay.
bald-headed, perverted, talented French writer.
Odie marches to a different drummer and writes to a different tune. And tune is the right word because his prose has a musical quality about it. Sometimes it is happy music, a celebration such as his Portrait of Simone. But then, when writing about growing up, the poorest of the poor, he says poorest of the poor, in Chicago, it can take on all the drama of a grand opera.
Okay, let's just take the blurb and see what, aside from the fact that the editor said, like none working today, as though I were plowing up a field or something.
Yes.
And then he comes all the way down to comparing me to a Frenchman. And then he winds up, I'm supposed,
Les Miserables.
I mean,
Grand Opera.
my great uncle,
Watermelon.
I can see it. Tote that barge, lift that bale. I didn't write any of that. In that particular sentence you just read saying, poorest of the poor.
Poor.
No.
Poor.
I said poorest of the poor.
Poor.
There's an immense caste difference between somebody who is poor and somebody who is porous. I think that being poor might be down at the ground level. It's where you ain't got nothing. Poor, P-O-O-R, is a little step up. You're poor, but you're not poor.
Yeah.
Then if you become really middle class, you might be called lower middle class. You're not middle class, you're lower middle class. In sociological terms, then you
know your place. Know your place.
Listen to Zola Salena, she knows. Okay, what are the books about? Make a brief little synopsis become a story. Midnight. This is one of the books about, anyway, this is about the young gangbanger who goes to Ghana and discovers that, the old convict was right. I do feel like I'm something more or something.
Yes.
I like your whole ensemble.
Well, thank you, my love.
You keep trying to show me up. I don't know what to do about it.
No, you're special. Just, move right
Thanks.
along.
Midnight. Midnight is one of Odie Hawkins' finest and most sensitive works. A view inside the soul of a black man of the LA streets, influenced by a man he meets in prison to look back to Africa to find out who he really is, free of prejudiced white eyes. This is Ray Locke at his worst. Trust me, he couldn't resist doing the blurb, and I used to say to him, I'd rather have a blank space. No, we got to put it. Okay. Second is Los Angeles. I became involved and concerned about what was happening between African Americans and Korean Americans way back when somehow other Koreans seem to have become entrepreneurs and store owners and so forth.
Well, this was way before you were in a dojo. Right?
Okay, yeah. I actually spent 6 years studying Taekwondo with Master Young-Kil Kim and Professor Raymond De Silva
wherever you are, we sure wish you'd get in touch with us.
And I know that Master Kim's son moved to North Carolina when I knew him. He was a 5-year-old, 6-year-old. And it's funny, he grew up and went away. He's living where my grandson is living right now. Master Kim, according to the grapevine, told me that he had gone back to Korea. He never seemed to be really at ease in America. He thought we ate too much.
No.
And it wasn't kimchi either.
If you have the food, yes, indeed.
Mm.
Yeah.
he always spoke about that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I think I wrote an honest book about a man who decides to go to the Koreans and find out for himself what the Korean attitude was toward African Americans. And there's some surprising results that happened. I don't want to expose all of them right now. One of them is the fact that some Koreans felt that African Americans were inferior because they were darker. You have to remember that the Japanese had control of Korea as a colony for 36 years back when, and they picked up some of the Japanese attitudes toward people of color, of deeper color. So it's a complex book in that sense. It also levels out the playing field for people who want to tell stories about our interweavings, our interconnection with other people of color. African Americans and Mexican Americans live sometimes in the same neighborhood and never know each other's first names. I mean, that's just like that. It's changing a little bit. Our neighborhood is quite mixed up.
Okay, yeah.
Let me read the blurb from Los Angeles. Odie Hawkins, through the character of Chester L. Simmons, weaves a poignant tale of the development of racial animosities between Koreans and African Americans on the streets of Los Angeles. Well, okay. It's not quite that bad. But, like, we don't meet each other on the streets and start throwing spears at each other and doing all this sort of thing. But there is sort of a misunderstanding. For example, I've had friends talk about what they felt like when they went to get their Courvoisier at the local liquor store in the mall there, and the Korean lady who served them, who got them the liquor they wanted, actually put the money down on the counter, counted it on the counter, and they were offended by that. I'm talking about African American guys and gals. So, hey, what what we supposed to be dirt or something? It's like they won't touch us. Well, check out the cultural mores, and you'll find out that for many Asians, touching somebody else's hand is just simply a no-no. So they're serving you, they're being polite, and they're being polite by placing the money on the corner. At least they're not throwing it in your face.
There you go.
I don't know if the book solved the African American Los Angeles problem, but I noticed that fewer Korean liquor stores were open in, let's say, South Central LA, now called South LA.
Right.
There was a point in time when almost every store you went into, especially liquor stores, that was a sore point. I mean, what do you want to do? Get us all drunk or something? Okay, that's Los Angeles.
Right.
Amazing Grace. Sketches from the peripheral. Amazing Grace reveals the struggle of human dignity excuse me, and the luminous fire of passion deep in the hearts of those willing to fight and love. I have no idea what this man meant by that, and I don't even want to try to explain it. Conspiracy, when South African secret agents plot to destroy the very fabric. He loved very a lot. He uses very a lot.
Very.
When African American secret agents plot to destroy the very fabric of USA black social structure, a Los Angeles news reporter realizes that only he can stop them. I'm using an exclamation because that exclamation point is something he used a lot too, in addition to very. That's what it's about. I surmised, I came up with the premise of what would happen just during the downturn of the apartheid era in South Africa. What would happen if a South African Asian came to America and made an effort to destroy the African ghettos, the African American ghettos, by dispensing a synthetic drug that might be 3 or 4 times more powerful than refined cocaine? Well, we're looking at fentanyl these days, and we're supposed to be 50 times stronger than, is it 50 times or 100 times?
Sure
I mean, something enormous.
Right.
It's stronger than any drug we've ever had that is addictive. It's so strong that there are times when a single dose will kill you. So we're being attacked from every area as usual all the time.
Conspiracy, yes. It's interesting.
Brazilian Nights. Odie Hawkins tells the story of a successful businesswoman who takes a 3-year sabbatical from the work grind and finds her true self and the answers to questions that have been bothering her for years. Well, okay, Ray, I give you that.
That was good. Okay.
The lady is a successful businesswoman who's worked hard. I think she's 28, 30 years old. She's worked hard to establish herself and to make money. And she's been lucky enough to do that because she starts off with money. Her parents are people do
that
it.
That helps. That does really help.
They started off, think about somebody else we know who may have started off with like 400 million and blew through that. And he's now grifting money from all of his followers.
Yes.
In this case, after having made the money, she says, I think I ought to find out who my masters are here. So she trips off to go and study with a man in Cuba, named Armando Ba. Armando Ba is a superior conga drummer. He's in the same cast as Francisco Aguabella, Carlos Pataco Valdez, Armando Parazza. You could go on and on. Candido Camero, people like that. The Afro-Cuban spine, the Afro-Cuban rhythmic spine that has supplied such wonderful music for us to dance to and listen to. She goes there. She goes to Japan to study the koto with Kimio Eto, the koto master. She goes to Korea to study taekwondo with Master Kim.
She must have money set aside.
She made her money, and so she's using it to enrich herself, not her pockets. That's the difference. Some of the rich guys we see now are going around enriching themselves. I'm sorry, they're going around filling their pockets, but I don't know if they're enriching themselves because they don't seem very rich as human beings. I'll leave that one like that. We got 2 more to go. Black Chicago. Black Chicago, the blurb was so badly written that I almost had a fist fight with Ray Locke. He says, Odie Hawkins' deeply personal history of America's heartland told from a very African-American point of view. I don't know what a very African-American point of view is.
That very word.
Very.
Yeah.
Beginning with the founding of the city of Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable. A black Frenchman. He wasn't a black Frenchman. He was a black man from Haiti. He wasn't a black Frenchman. And finally, we end with Sweet Peter Deeter. This is the story of a teenager who was an expert at running a street gang, street hustle. By the time he was, 15, it combines the realism of Iceberg Slim and the starkness of Donald Goines. Well, okay. So those books, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, were published.
Right. On the first page of the catalog page of the catalog. Okay.
I'm suggesting, since these books are still available, that you...
With new covers.
New covers.
Okay.
New covers, most of the new covers done photographically by this lady herself. I'm sitting next to one of the most talented photographers in the whole of the United States. She won't admit to that because it means being, braggy and, kind of full of yourself.
I'm sitting next to the most talented
But it's the truth is the light of the world, I was once told.
Yes. Okay.
Amen.
Yeah, sure.
And on that note, I'm going to end it because we've had a long trip from out of town. I'm a little bit slugged out, but I would like to have you look at these books and think of one you'd like to read, and the best way to read it is to go buy it.
Yes, you can buy it on Amazon or just go to Odie's website, www.odiehawkins.com, or on Amazon's authors page, you'll see videos and also his books. Some of the books are ebooks. And so we hope that during these holidays or into the new year, that you pick up an Odie Hawkins book and
Right here.
experience it for yourself. All right? And with that,
5 moments.
namaste.
Oh, namaste.
Bye.
Come back, little Shiva, come back.
I'm coming.